Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Shravanti. I have taken up a topic of Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013. So, the main abstract of this presentation is, to whether the new Criminal Law Amendment Act is sufficient to protect the crime against women. So, let's get started. So, there are three things which comes to anyone's mind when we say there's an act amended. So when was the act passed? This was passed in the month of April 2013. It was accepted by both the houses and it led to the amendment in the and it was passed on 3rd of April 2013. So why was this act passed? This was passed to protect the women from violence, harassment and other vicious crimes against women, and to provide a stringent and severe punishment for the crimes against women. It is also said that when the punishment is getting stricter and stricter, the crimes the rate of crimes would reduce. So what led to the amendment? So this is a remarkable incident which happened in India, which led to the amendment of the Act. As everyone know, there was a dreadful and horrendous incident of gang rape which occurred on 16th of December 2012, which is remarkably known as Nirbhaya case. So this is the one which led for the amendments in the Act. So if we have to see what Mahatma Gandhi has said, he says women is the companion of man gifted with equal mental capacities. She has the right to participate in the minutest details in the activities of man, and she has an equal right of freedom and liberty with him. She is entitled to a supreme place in her own sphere of activity as man is in his. This ought to be the natural conditions of things and not as a result only of learning to read and write. By sheer force of a vicious custom, even the most ignorant and worthless men have been enjoying a superiority over women which they do not deserve and ought not to have. Many of our movements stop halfway because of the conditions of our women. As it is rightly said, there should be an equal opportunity for women to express and to lead her life. So, if we have to come back to the incident which led to the amendment for the Criminal Amendment Act of 2013, so the action that was taken post incident was there was a trial, and immediately looking at the severity of the incident, the central government appointed a committee to review and recommend amendments to the criminal law. And this committee was known as Justice Verma Committee. So basically, this committee had three supreme members, wherein it was headed by Chief Justice of Supreme Court J.S. Verma, and it included other committee members like Justice Leela Seth, former Judge of High Court, and Gopal Subramaniam, former Solicitor General of India. So if we have to see what happened in the committee and what were the recommendations and what was the methodology that the committee adopted. So if we have to talk about the methodology that the committee had adopted, it actually invited the suggestions from all these stakeholders through the public notice. And there were n number of experts, social activists, interest groups, and other representatives who came forward for pouring in their suggestions. And for the purpose of further elaboration of some of their suggestions, the committee also invited a number of representatives, eminent academics, for an oral interaction. Let's see what are those. So these are some of the committees which were sent an invite for the recommendations. So it's member of India and International Academy, women's organizations, child right organizations, member of the medical fraternity in India, non-government organizations, research groups, members of the administrative and police services, and legal experts. These organizations were called for to comment on theories and practices and their experiences, and also the medical and psychological aspects of a sexual crime. Moving on to the next slide. So let's see, once the committee was implemented and the changes and the recommendations were put forth by Justice Verma Committee. If I have to tell, there were n number of recommendations put forth in the committee, which included voyeurism and marital rape, forcibly showing pornography, protection against disclosure of identity of victim, and there were some suggestions like compensation, previous sexual history, presumption of consent. There were so many which were put forth by the committee, but ultimately there were only few which were amended and which were passed. So the others are not rejected, but they are left under the visibility of severity. I would say that. So what are the changes in the Act in according to IPC? So there were many provisions which led for an amendment, and there was subsections which were included. So let me not forget to tell you that this act constitutes amendments in Indian Penal Code, the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, and the Indian Evidence Act 1872, and Protection of Child from Sexual Offences Act 2012. If we have to walk through the Indian Penal Code wherein the amendments were made. So it is the provision to punish police official who refuse to record FIR in cases of crimes against women under section 166A. The second one being provisions to punish those in charge of public or private hospitals who refuse to treat the victims of rape by free medical treatment under section 166 of B. So if there is any hospital, be it a public hospital or a private hospital, if they are refusing to treat the victim when approached for the medical treatment, this is actually a criminal offense under section 166B. They will have to treat the victims, and the medical treatment that they offer should be completely free. Moving on to the next one, the section 370 of IPC has been substituted with new sections such as 370 and 370A, which deals with trafficking of person for exploitation. Say suppose if a person is recruiting or hiring, or if a person is being transported or harbors, transfers, or receives a person by using threats or force or coercion, then all these are said to be the criminal offenses. Also, this includes the prostitution, slavery, forced organ removal, etc. This will lead to the imprisonment of at least 7 years or until life. Right? And moving on to the next slide, under section 375, which is expanded, the main thing what amended is they have expanded the definition of rape, which includes like forcible penetration of his penis into the vagina, mouth, urethra, or anus of a woman, or making her do so with him or any other person. Inserts any objects into the vagina, mouth, urethra, or anus of a woman, or making her do so with him or any other person. Manipulation of any part of the body, and applying forcible acts on women, and or making her to do so with him or any other person. So all these were included, and they were actually this is the expanded definition of rape. So all the above mentioned are said to be committed rape and is a criminal offense under this section, that is 375 of IPC. So the Justice Verma Committee also included the consent of consent of the victim here. They have actually reconstructed by clarifying that women's silence or absence of no cannot be constructed as S, which means if a woman is silent for a particular incident or asked upon for something, or if there is an absence of no, if she doesn't say no, or if she keeps herself mute, then it cannot be considered as an S. And the age of consent was raised from 16 years to 18 years. So moving on to the next one. Section 376 of 2, which includes rape committed by a member of the armed forces deployed in an area by the central or a state government in such an area, to consider rape of a woman below the age of 16 years as aggravated and hence enhanced punishment for it. So section 375 talks about the consent, and 376 of 2 talks about the punishment for committing rape of a woman below the age of 16 years. Under section 376 of D, women raped, those involving one or more person with a common intention, shall be deemed to have committed the offense of rape and is liable for imprisonment not less than 20 years or life imprisonment. So when there is a gang rape, then the punishment which is implemented here is not less than 20 years, or it can go up till life imprisonment. Under section 376A, the death penalty is introduced under the circumstance where rape resulted in death or vegetative state of the victim. So this is exactly this particular line well goes with the case that had a remarkable impact for this amendment. So that is the case of Nirbhaya. So what happened was, why this death penalty was introduced is because when the incident happened, there were various social reactions across the countries, and each and every individual craved for that death penalty, because the incident was so severe and it was so heartbreaking, which had an unimaginable act of accused on the victim that was truly inhuman, and all the accused who performed this inhuman behavior on the victim was of sound mind. They are not of insane mind, so they did it with soundful mind, and there were a lot of social outrage due to the gruesome incident. There were a lot of candlelight marches, solidarity movements, and protests. Women took the streets to fight for a speedy legal system. This is one which women were very particular about, because they wanted a speedy legal system wherein when the facts are produced, when the facts are very naked, they expected the punishment or the result of the case to be very speedy. And Indian police officers use a water cannon to disperse the protests near India Gate. And when the protests were not encouraged, and students chanted anti-police slogans during a protest against the Indian government reaction to the rape. Because as in when the case was getting delayed, the public was getting more and more aggressive. So Indian demonstrators burned an effigy representing rapists during a protest calling for better safety for women. The whole nation had an outburst, and they were demanding for a immediate punishment to the rapists. This just did not shook the people of India, but trust me, it also had an adverse impact across the world. With the easy access to the technology, the reactions on social media depicted the mood and situations in the country, wherein everyone looking at this incident, they were hoping that India would reform, and they would bring a law wherein they could stop these crimes. And every single individual, as I said, they craved for instant punishment with no plea, and they all that they wanted was death penalty. And organizations like All India Progressive Women's Association, that is AIPWA, also made its mark, whose secretary made a statement that the juvenile should be given a chance to live. To this, again, people had shown their unacceptance, because their main point of defense was, be it a juvenile or non-juvenile, the act is done out of soundful mind, right? And this was not done out of unsoundness, or he did not the accused did not perform this in inhuman behavior out of insane mind, right? So this is why the death penalty was introduced, under which, again, there's a condition applied here, under the circumstance where rape which results in death or vegetative state of the victim. Let's move on to the next one. That is under section 376C. It is included the abusing of a position of authority or fiduciary relationship by certain persons to induce or seduce any women in his custody or charge to have sexual intercourse with him. And under section 376E, death penalty is included as the punishment along with life imprisonment without parole. Under section 376B, husband, when has sexual intercourse upon his wife during separation without her consent, is punishable with imprisonment increased to 7 years with a minimum punishment of 2 years. Moving on to the next one. Yes, here we come to the conclusion part. So this particular topic is a very big debatable topic, but as we see, what best can we do? Because when the death penalty was asked, we can say, death sentence can only kill the crime, but kill the criminal, but not the crime, right? I repeat, death sentence kills the crime, but never the death sentence kills the criminal, but never the crime. I'm sorry, sir. So all that they wanted was to stop the harassment and violence against women and girls in India. So even after the incident that happened in Delhi, there were repetitive incidents following this Nirbhaya's case. So this is actually bringing a question in the minds of people to question that, whether the new Criminal Law Amendment Act is sufficient to protect the crime against women or not. So there were so many things wherein considered here, wherein women had various problems, even to let let the officials or anyone know that she had undergone the harassment or sexual abuse. So eventually, there was a Me Too movement initiated on social media. This was also initiated because the Nirbhaya's case gave spark for when there were a lot of women who expressed their experiences on the social platform, and whatever the experience that they had or whatever they had undergone, everything, all the facts were put on social media. And this also kind of created a rage in public, seeking for death penalty and or the speedy legal system, and all of this. And it just this incident just not was covered in India, but across the world, there were a lot of countries which were looking upon India as to what is the next move, what is the move that the legal system is going to bring in, and how they are going to avoid these crimes, right? And so after the committee was formed and all the amendments were made to the acts, then there was a lot of revision of punishments, and there were so many things done to the Criminal Law Act of 2013. So uh, but still the victim or the survivor continue to face tremendous barriers at every stage towards accessing justice. So we must all rethink and accept that the death sentence can kill the criminal but not the crime again. The death penalty, longer terms of imprisonment or capital punishment, all these are enforced by law to only inculcate a sense of fear in the mind of accused. But yes, the punishment should be made stricter and stricter wherein the accused is guilty of the crime. Also, there could be as a remedy, because we cannot stop the crime or completely kill the crime, because it's totally unpredictable. But at least we can include certain things wherein we can reduce the rate of such crimes, and save women from that, from those inhuman acts. So as a remedy, we could have women fast track courts, and more and more of women lawyers engaging into the matters. And it also, see, just not the legal support, we also require the medical support as well. So only when there is a proper analyzation of what has happened to the victim exactly, only then the legal the legal or the women lawyers can also talk upon for that. So it just doesn't stop here with respect to judiciary. We also should increase the number in police system towards availability of women police officers, and also engage a lot and lot of women doctors to examine the victims. And we also should remember that, just like everyone, access to violence free and safe public space is the basic right of a woman, which she needs to be given. And this is the greatest challenge, which relates to the alarming threat to women's safety and freedom of movement in public spaces. So there were so many things which were also done with regards to the safety in the public spaces, wherein they bought they also asked the system to provide street lights. There were street lights, but they wanted very bright street lights, because they happen to think that the crimes are more, it leads to the easy access of crimes when there's a darkness. So that is a reason. And yeah, as a result, what can be done? We can only bring in the women fast-track courts, and more of engagement of women lawyers, women doctors to examine the victims, and modernization of police system across the whole of India. So I would thank you for your patience here, and I gratefully acknowledge the comments and support here. And with this, we can conclude the topic. Thank you. Thank you for your time.